What is going on, guys? I am Miguel from UCGym.com, and I'm bringing you the next episode of the Muscle Anatomy series. Now today I'm going to discuss the chest, or the pectoralis muscle, and it's going to be a pretty quick one since there isn't really too much to explain for the chest. Now, a lot of people don't really understand how many muscles there are in the chest. They assume that there's only one, just a pec major. Some of them assume there's two. There's the upper chest and lower chest. Some people think it's 3, upper, middle, lower. People think it's maybe 5, where you have upper, middle, lower, and then outer and inner. And then there's people who think there's actually 6, all those 5 and then the pec minor. Well, there's actually just 4. Well, actually 2, but one of them has 3 subdivisions. So I drew the muscle, as I always do. And here we have the chest, basically. The thoracic cavity, or the pectoral girdle, or just the chest. So this is essentially, if we put it here, it's going to be my chest. So on the right we have the pectoralis minor, and on the left we have the pectoralis major. So here, these little black dots are going to represent the subdivisions of the pectoralis major. Now up here we have the upper chest, also known as the clavicular head. Here we have the middle chest, which is known as the sternal head. And then down here we have the lower chest, which is known as the abdominal head of the chest, or the pectoralis major. So we have 3 heads, and all of them pretty much carry out the same function of arm adduction. And then here we have the pectoralis minor, which is just beneath the pectoralis major. In anatomical terms, it's called deep to the pectoralis major, and then the pectoralis major is superficial to the pectoralis minor. So onto the origins and insertions of the muscle. The pectoralis major, the clavicular head, it originates on the mid-clavicle, which is your collarbone, so it originates pretty much right up here. And the sternoclavicular head, or just the sternal head in the middle, originates in the manubrium and the sternum and the rib. So the manubrium is this little bone right here where the clavicles connect, and then the sternum is just your chest bone, as people call it. And then for the abdominal head, it's the ribs and the sternum. So down here, also kind of on the xiphoid process, which is a tiny bone under your sternum, and then some of the upper ribs. And then for the pectoralis minor, the origin is 3 to 5 ribs, so the 3rd to 5th, 3 to 5 ribs of the upper portion. So you have rib 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, and 5 is where the pectoralis minor originates, and then inserts into the scapular, or the coracoid scapula, into the coracoid process, which is this little bone at the very top of the scapula. Now, as for the functions, the function of the clavicular head, or the upper chest, is to flex and adduct the arm. So arm adduction is bringing your arm towards the midline of your body, or adding it to your body. Next, for the sternal head, it adducts and medially rotates the arm. So also adducting the arm and medially rotating it, so it helps in turning your hand this way in. So it helps with arm pronation. So when you're doing a chest exercise, you want to incorporate different twisting motions. If you're doing like a dumbbell, for example, a dumbbell press, and you're going to go up, what you can do is twist it laterally or externally, and then internally or medially, to simulate different fibers of the chest. And then for the pectoralis minor, the function is to protract the scapula and elevate the ribs. So to sort of give you a good piece of advice, or a good tip when it comes to muscles, you can generally dictate their function by which way the fibers run and where they connect. So here I'm protracting the scapula. Since the muscle originates here and it inserts here, generally it's going to pull the muscle this way. It pulls the insertion towards the origin. So an example being the biceps, where it originates on the scapula or the humerus, and it inserts into the forearm. So it's going to bring the insertion point towards the origin. Now we can also do it the other way, but it doesn't really have enough strength to do it in that manner. So here, for protracting the scapula, it brings your scapula or your shoulder girdle down, and then it elevates the ribs by bringing the ribs back up. So if you're lying down on your back, you can sort of elevate your ribs when you inhale or inspirate. It brings the ribs towards the scapula, which assists in breathing. So that's a pretty good piece of advice, if I say so myself. And also for the abdominal head of the pectoralis major, same function as the sternal head and clavicular head. And now for the exercises, there's really two main ones, pressing and adduction. And pressing is just a modification of adduction. So for the exercises, we have two core exercises. We have the bench press and the chest fly. Now the bench press is an exercise everybody should know by now, where you're just laying down on the bench, whether it be incline, decline, or flat, and you have a barbell or dumbbells or cables or kettlebells, whatever it may be, and you're just going to press the weight up. Now, this exercise isn't really the best one for isolating the chest or working it to its fullest potential, being that you're incorporating many more muscle groups in order to target the chest or work the chest with this exercise. So when you're doing a bench press, when you're going to the top of the movement and trying to lock out your arm, you're incorporating a lot of tricep movement to straighten out the arm. You're using a lot of shoulder muscle to help with the forward adduction of the arm. You're using many more muscles of the upper back and the your body, I guess, to stabilize the weight and ensure you don't get injured. And yeah, so the best way to target your chest is to do chest flies, where you isolate your chest and you just solely adduct your arm. So you can do your chest flies with dumbbells, machines, cables, anything you can find that helps you use one arm individually or both arms separately. So the arm adduction, like I said, is when you're bringing your arms close together towards the midline of your body and you contract your chest. And like I said, with the medial rotation of the arm, you can modify which way you do your arm adduction movements. So if you're using a chest fly machine or a pec deck or whatever it's called, generally you're going to grab the handle like this. Now oftentimes the machine has a handle this way, and this way you're medially rotating your arm and you're going to get a pretty good contraction that way. But you don't really have to grab these attachments the way they're made. So instead of having the handle like this and you're grabbing it this way and bringing your arm to your midline, you can just put your hand under the or to the side of the grip and just do the arm adduction this way. You're modifying it to suit your needs, and you're going to get better chest development and better chest activation or stimulation through doing these small tweaks with your exercises. So this isn't really to say that you shouldn't do your bench pressing or anything like that. It's just that this is a better way to isolate the chest. And a lot of people say that doing chest flies is really the best way to target the inner chest, and it really is, because you are getting the peak contraction that you can get with your chest. Now, for bench press, where instead of grabbing the bar fairly wide, outside shoulder width, you can grab it within shoulder width, and when you press, you are going to feel a better contraction than when you do it outwards, which you are incorporating more tricep. So chest flies are kind of the ultimate way to stimulate the chest and work it to its fullest potential. But either way, you can do the bench press so you can handle more weight and increase the amount of mass you build. But chest flies are really good for developing more detail in the chest and getting a better contraction and growing more of the inner chest. And it's better, but it's my opinion. Next we have dips, which you can do on a bench or parallel bars. Now dips, there's two ways you can do it. If you lean forward more when you do your dips, you're going to incorporate more chest. If you keep your torso upright when you're doing dips and you have your arms behind you, you're more so including the triceps. Now I just recently saw a post online where somebody's saying that in order to optimally target the chest when you're doing your dips, you should have a training partner to grab your legs and sort of pull you back more, so you lean forward more and you incorporate more of the chest. But when you lean forward even more, you're basically doing a bench press with dumbbells with a neutral grip. Okay, the camera cut off, so that was kind of annoying, but like I was saying, when you're doing dips, you can really find a balance between doing it either with a partner or without a partner. You can really tweak it whichever way you want to do it, so you can target more of the chest however you want to target it. And then for the final exercise, I included push-ups, which you can do close, wide, or narrow grip or stance. Pretty much like the bench press. This exercise incorporates resistance, which is necessary for muscle hypertrophy, but you can't really get as much resistance doing a bodyweight push-up as you could with a bench press. But either way, if you don't have equipment wherever you are, push-up is a really good alternative to doing it. And using different kinds of hand positioning, whether it be wide, narrow, or regular, you can really get different amounts of stimulation in your chest, and that's really the objective when bodybuilding or lifting weights, is to stimulate as much muscle fiber as you can to stimulate or induce more growth in the muscle. So that's pretty much concluding the whole video. Pectoralis has 4 muscles. You have the Pectoralis Major, Pectoralis Minor. Pectoralis Major has 3 different portions. You have the clavicular head, sternal head, and abdominal head, also known as the upper, middle, and lower chest. And just to clarify something, there really isn't an inner and an outer chest. It's just one. It's not split in half and you have one portion and the other. It's just one big fiber. If people say you want to develop your inner chest more, that's only going to be achieved through doing increased contractions or squeezing your chest even harder when you're doing your muscle exercises for the muscles in exercises such as the chest fly. Now to do the outer, or sort of more develop the outer chest or just the overall chest, you're going to go for a wider grip, because when you're doing a wider grip and you reach the top of the movement, you're contracting the whole muscle in that fixated position where it's more lengthened and it'll just look larger, as opposed to doing a full contraction where the muscle will shorten more and be more dense and more detailed. So that's it. Chest anatomy. Next episode, I don't know what it's going to be. It's up to you guys. And yeah, so if you haven't seen last video, it was the anatomy of the hamstrings. And then, yeah, so be sure to check out our website, UCGym.com, to get more information like this and see all our videos and just be a part of something that's going to be really big in the future. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys next time.
Knowledge.